In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. Now with the main headlines. Honourable House of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi holds ceremonies on birth of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, peace be upon her. UN calls for urgent help to combat acute child malnutrition. Pakistan intensifies clampdown on journalists, fails to protect rights of minorities, HRW says. Uganda. Muslims worried by increased scrutiny of madrasas by security agencies. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Ayyub Nuwino and you are watching Shia Waves live from Imam Hussein TV free. On the birth anniversary of the Holy Prophet's daughter, Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, peace be upon them, the Honourable House of the Religious Authority, His Eminence Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Hussein al-Shirazi, held ceremonies of joy and pleasure this morning corresponding to the 20th of the month of Jumada Thani, the 13th of January 2023. The ceremonies were attended by scholars, virtuous men, clerics, followers of the pure Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, and pilgrims of the holy shrine of Sayyidah Fatima al-Ma'suma, peace be upon her. And they expressed their pleasure and joy on this joyful anniversary. UN agencies said Thursday conflict, climate shocks, the COVID-19 pandemic and rising living costs were leaving an increasing number of children badly malnourished. Currently, more than 30 million children in the 15 worst affected countries suffer from wasting or acute malnutrition, and 8 million of these children are severely wasted, the deadliest form of undernutrition, 5 UN agencies said in a joint statement. The 15 countries are Afghanistan, Burkina Faso, Chad, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Haiti, Kenya, Madagascar, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan and Yemen. Soaring food prices were aggravating food shortages and displacing populations, the UN said, as well as hindering access to affordable essential nutrition. The global food crisis is also a health crisis and a vicious cycle. Malnutrition leads to disease and disease leads to malnutrition, said World Health Organization Chief Tedros Adhanom. Urgent support is needed now in the hardest hit countries to protect children's lives and health, including ensuring critical access to healthy foods and nutrition services, especially for women and children. Pakistani authorities intensified their clampdown on media, civil society groups and opposition activists in 2022, while failing to protect the rights of minorities and others at-risk groups, Human Rights Watch said Thursday in its World Report 2023. Devastating floods that affected 1/3 of the country had the greatest impact on the poor, who were already reeling from a deepening economic crisis with skyrocketing food and fuel prices. The space for free expression and dissent in Pakistan is rapidly shrinking, said Patricia Gossman, Associate Asia Director at Human Rights Watch. Pakistan's politicians are locked in a power struggle in which a free media and the vibrant civil society are the casualties. According to reports, Pakistani authorities harassed and at times prosecuted human rights defenders and journalists for criticizing government policies. Violent attacks on members of the media increased. The authorities used blasphemy accusations and an overboard colonial-era sedation law against political opponents and journalists. UNICEF reported that in the immediate aftermath of the floods, at least 3.4 million children needed urgent humanitarian assistance and were at increased risk of waterborne diseases, drowning and malnutrition. As of August, approximately 16 million affected children lacked housing and access to safe drinking water. Let us remind our respected viewers of today's headlines. Honourable House of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi holds ceremonies on birth of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, peace be upon her. UN calls for urgent help to combat acute child malnutrition. Pakistan intensifies clampdown on journalists, fails to protect rights of minorities, HRW says. Also tonight, Uyghurs slam Islamic delegation praising China's policies in Xinjiang. So we're going to attempt to try and reconnect with our guest tonight, Dr. Sayyid Muhammad Naqvi.
Hello, good night.
Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid Muhammad Naqvi. How are you? Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. How are you?
So, to begin with, Sayyid Muhammad Naqvi, in your opinion, the current situation in Pakistan with journalists being attacked, how do you see this at the moment, and how do you see free speech going forward in Pakistan?
Do you have my voice now?
We can hear you, yes.
Good. Actually, currently the situation in Pakistan is a little bit very unstable due to a lot of political tensions and political instability, which is caused by recent happenings in Pakistan. If I think everyone knows about what happened to ex-prime minister and everything, and it has its root in different causes. It has its different causes even from out of the borders and proxy wars and everything. But actually, the government is now dealing with a lot of different matters, including the political situation and the flood situation and economical situations caused by all these things. That's why government is trying to normalize the situation, or what do you say that? By taking control of the media and putting bans on political rivals, opposition leaders, and everything, and it can cause it can be continued to sometimes until we see some
Fortunately, we seem to have lost...
going to be going. Hello.
No, Dr. Sayyid Muhammad Naqvi, thank you. Please continue.
Yeah, as I was telling, that it may continue months because the situation is still unstable here, and a couple of days ago they had some problems in Punjab Assembly, which is causing the opposition leaders are trying to they're asking for a election to be held soon, but it it's not possible at the moment due to economical situation after the flood, actually. So it can be here. The situation can continue for more than 3 or 4 months, and we must wait for that period to see if this human rights situation gets better or not.
Future for Pakistani media in terms of objective reporting and accurate reporting if journalism is constantly under threat from the government at the moment?
Hello?
Doctors, can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay, we seem to have lost Dr. Sayyid Muhammad Naqvi again, but thank you very much for your input, and we look forward to hearing from you once again on Shia Waves News. Continuing with tonight's news, the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council has decried the increased scrutiny of madrasas by security agencies, accusing them of being breeding grounds for terrorism. Also known as Quranic schools, madrasas are informal in setting and a source of Islamic theological teaching since Islam was introduced in Uganda in 1844. In 2015, police had threatened to close the madrasas, claiming that learners are being kept incommunicado from their community and are being indoctrinated in their guise of teaching Islam. Sheikh Jumma Bakhsit Kurko, the UMSE Education Secretary at UMSC, said this was a shock to Muslims as many schools were closed and many proprietors were arrested. And now we continue with some short news. The Ahlul Bayt Foundation, peace be upon them, in Basra Governorate, in cooperation with the Misbah al-Hussein Foundation, peace be upon him, for relief and development, honoured the number of orphan girls who had reached the age of puberty. The honouring ceremony coincided with the honourable birth of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, peace be upon her. These activities come based on directions of Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Hussein al-Shirazi, may Allah prolong his life. The Al Yasin Husseiniya and Mosque in Sydney, Australia celebrated the birthday of Lady Fatima al-Zahra, peace be upon her. This ceremony was attended by the believers and lovers of Ahlul Bayt, blessings of God be upon them, on the 19th of Jumada al-Thani. Dubai will be constructed the world's first 3D printed mosque. Plans for the 2,000 square meter mosque were released by Dubai's Islamic Affairs and Charitable Activities Department on its website. The mosque will be able to hold 600 worshippers at one time. The project is set to begin in October and should be completed by 2025. Through the 3D printing aspect will only take 4 months. According to Islamic teachings, the deceased people should be secure of an eternal burial place. Due to a lack of space, this is often impossible in the Netherlands. Now the Muslim community has opened a large cemetery specially designed for this purpose. The cemetery, called Maqbara Rawda al-Muslimin, otherwise known as the Cemetery Garden of Muslims, has space for 16,000 coffins. Therefore, it is the largest Islamic cemetery in Western Europe, according to a news report. The Ahlul Bayt Islamic Center in the city of Mahajanga, Madagascar, affiliated to the office of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi, held a ceremony to celebrate the birth anniversary of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, peace be upon her. The ceremony was attended by the believers and lovers of Ahlul Bayt, blessings of God be upon them, on Thursday the 19th of Jumada al-Thani. The women's section in the center also held a similar ceremony on this joyful occasion. A group of 30 experts from various Muslim-majority countries visited China's far western region, praising its fight against terrorism. They said nothing about abuses Uyghurs are subjected to by the Chinese government. More details in the following report.
A delegation of some 30 Islamic religious experts and scholars from 14 Muslim-majority countries, including Bahrain, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Tunisia and the United Arab Emirates, recently visited Xinjiang, according to media outlets. During their stay, they praised China's goals and policies, including its effective and rigorous fight against terrorism, but kept silent about the rights of the region's Uyghur Muslims and the human rights abuses and persecution they have to endure. Uyghur academics, scholars and leading figures slammed what they call propaganda perpetrated by the multinational Islamic delegation. Beijing, they warn, will use them as part of its political marketing to deny more forcefully reports that thousands of Uyghur Muslims have been jailed or sent to re-education and labour camps. The delegation was organised by the World Muslim Communities Councils, which promoted the visit to China's westernmost regions, home to Uyghurs and other Turkic-speaking groups who are mostly Muslims. Beijing's abuses against the Uyghurs in Xinjiang remain an unresolved issue at the UN Human Rights Council, which recently rejected an internal report on human rights violations in the province and refused to open a debate, reporting Aruj Fatima Malik, Shia Waves.
Climate change is the global economy's biggest long-term challenge, but one the world is least prepared to tackle because of short-term problems led by a cost of living crisis, the World Economic Forum said in a report on Wednesday. The report, based on a survey of 1,200 risk experts, industry bosses and policymakers, says the biggest challenges over the next decade involve the environment, yet more immediate challenges are distracting world leaders, some of whom will be in Davos for panel discussions and schmoozing at an event that has faced criticism for not producing concrete action. Out of the top 10 long-term challenges, respondents said the top 4 are climate-related: failure to limit or adapt to climate change, natural disasters and extreme weather, biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse. Top of the list of challenges over the next 2 years is a cost of living crisis sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's war in Ukraine, which has sent food and energy prices soaring, squeezing household finances worldwide. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, criticized the US steps to combat illegal immigration, including measures taken by Washington to manage border areas with Latin American countries. While I welcome the measure to establish and expand safe and regular routes, I believe that other measures should not be applied if they would affect basic human rights, which include the right to seek asylum, Turk said. He added, asylum is considered a human right, regardless of its origin and immigration status. On January the 5th, the US federal government announced its intention to implement a set of new measures aimed at combating illegal immigration in order to reduce waves of unregulated and unsafe immigration coming to the United States from Latin America, as well as in order to strengthen border security with Mexico. The White House announced plans to expand the deportation of illegal immigrants under accelerated procedures with a 5-year ban on entry to the US. We have reached the end of today's Shia Waves show. Let's remind our viewers of today's headlines. Honorable House of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi holds ceremonies on birth of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, peace be upon her. UN calls for urgent help to combat acute child malnutrition. Pakistan intensifies clampdown on journalists, fails to protect rights of minorities, HRW says. Uganda. Muslims worried by increased scrutiny of madrasas by security agencies. Uyghurs slam Islamic delegation praising China's policies in Xinjiang. Report warns cost of living crisis may overshadow climate change. UN criticizes American steps to combat illegal immigration. You can view the latest news on Shia Waves' website, and you can send news of your city or country to be published on our news agency. Please contact us on the number at the bottom of the screen. This is the end of today's news program, and thank you all for watching. We pray to Allah Almighty to hasten the reappearance of the Master of our time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.